Hi you guys, I am ready to start Module 18. I'm super excited for this module. We are switching gears again and focusing on graphs and data and how to represent data. So I'm super excited. I have a bit of news though. As I was typing up the lesson plans for the next pickup for the last 2 weeks of school, I realized that we are in a little bit of trouble because we need to catch up big time in math. And so, don't be mad, but we are going to have to do a couple lessons a day for math. But it's okay because we're finishing up our science projects, so that's done and out of the way. We are working on our biography. We sectioned it out so you did all the research, and so that's all done. So now all you have to do is decorate the poster, and then that's all done. And then you'll be working on math, and then I also am making an end of the year assessment for you, and I'll talk all about that in a different video. But so hopefully it's not too much. Luckily, Module 18 is pretty straightforward, and I think you guys are going to be very successful on it and understand it really well. So it's sectioned, each lesson, it's like, okay, so for example, lesson 1 is use picture graphs. Lesson 2 is make picture graphs. Then the next one is use bar graphs, and the next one is make bar graphs. And so I'm just combining those, except for the first 2 lessons, because I didn't realize that we were on a time crunch. So lesson 1 is today, lesson 2 will be on Monday, lesson 3 and 4 is on Tuesday. So pay attention, really pay close attention to the lesson plan that you pick up on Monday the 18th. Right? Yes, the 18th, because it'll say exactly which lessons you have to do, and you have to do both of them. So I'll be sending out 2 math videos every morning on the days that say do lesson 3 and lesson 4, lesson 5 and lesson 6. So that way we're done with Module 18, it's done, we can move on to 19, do that one really quick, and then 20, do that one really quick, and then we're done. So, phew, I need to make a mental note of that for next year. When I'm teaching math, we gotta cruise through it a little faster. So, but that's okay because we are superstar students. We can totally rock this, and I think you'll be okay. So, let's get started. I'm on page 457. You guys should have already done the Are You Ready quiz. And so, like you can see from the Are You Ready quiz, we're just looking at different types of graphs and charts, and we use different graphs depending on the situation. So we're just getting familiar on like which situation would call for a bar graph, or when would I use a picture graph, when would I use a tally chart, so things like that. So hopefully it goes well. All right, so I'm on page 457. Like I said, lesson 1 is called Use Picture Graphs. It says, I can use data in a picture graph to solve how many more and how many less problems. So how many more and how many less, those are comparative phrases. So we are just comparing data on that we receive from the charts. So the Spark Your Learning says, Miss Marin's students are showing data that they collected. On what topic might the students have collected information? Use your topic idea to complete the graph. So in the workbox, it has this picture graph, and it's pretty empty. All there is these little pictures for each section. So here's Miss Marin's class. It looks like they're at the zoo. So our picture graph is probably going to be something about the zoo. So we can make this up. It's going to be related to the zoo. So I am going to call this chart Animals at the Zoo. So the title would go on the top, and then each one of these side sections are going to be different animals. So maybe this one is bears. And there were 2 bears at the zoo. Maybe this next one is giraffes. Oh, I always forget. I always spell giraffes wrong. Isn't that so funny? I always spell it with 2 R's and 1 F, but it's 1 R and 2 F's. My gosh, Miss Lundquist, when will you learn? It's just one of those words that I always forget. That's okay. Okay, so giraffes, and then the last one, this one would say 4 giraffes there. And the last one, maybe I do, there's 3 elephants. So then elephants would go there. Okay, bam, we're done. All right, next page. It says build understanding. Amy records the number of each type of tree she sees. Now this picture graph is a little unique. So let's go over to our connected vocabulary box and see what's happening here. So our connected vocabulary says a picture graph uses symbols to show and compare information. Picture graphs have a key that tells the number of objects each symbol represents. So like on this picture graph, we have trees, but at the bottom, the key says that each tree, so each of the symbol tree, equals 2 trees. So that means the pine trees, there's 2 symbols. Each one symbol represents 2 trees. So this is really 2, 2, which is 4 trees. Okay, so a lot of times picture graphs will have a key that will tell us the number of objects that the symbol represents, because we don't want to use up a ton of space. If she saw 14 trees, it would be way easier to just write 7 trees and say each of them represents 2 instead of drawing out 14 trees. So that's what keys are for. So then part A says, how do you know how many trees each symbol stands for in the graph? How do we know? Well, the key says each tree symbol represents 2 trees. So that's what we write down here. The key says each tree symbol represents 2 trees. So that's the key. I'll just write key right there. Part B says, what equation can you write to find the number of willow trees Amy sees? How many willow trees does Amy see? So let's go to willow. There are 1, 2, 3 trees, and each of those represents 2. So that to me sounds like a multiplication equation. 3 groups, right? 3 tree symbols. Each tree symbol represents 2. So 3 times 2 equals 6. Another way we could write it is 2 plus 2 plus 2. And that would also get us 6 trees. So there are 6 willow trees. Okay, so if the full tree stands for 2 trees, what does, and you can see the symbol was cut in half, stand for in the graph? Explain. Well, if this one is 2, this symbol is cut in half, so what's half of 2? 1. So that half tree would represent 1 tree. Because if the full symbol represents 2, half of the symbol would represent half as many trees, and half of 2 is 1. And then part D says, how can you find the number of palm trees Amy sees? So let's go to palm trees. So we have full half symbol. So I'm going to do 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1. And that will get me 7 palm trees. So then write out what we did at the bottom. You'll just say each full symbol represents 2 trees. So I did 2 plus 2 plus 2 for the 3 full trees, and then added 1 for the half symbol. And that got me 7 palm trees. Okay. Let's see. Part 2, or on the next page it says, Rowan records the types of plants sold at the store on Saturday. What equation can you write to find the number of aloe plants sold? How many aloe plants were sold? Let's look at our picture graph. Go to aloe. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 symbols. Let's see what each symbol means. So we'll go down to our key. Each symbol equals 4 plants. Okay, so that means we would do 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. Or we could say, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 symbols. So that's my 5 groups. Each of them represents 4 plants. So I do 5 times 4. And I know my math facts, 5, 10, 15, 20. 5 times 4 is 20 aloe plants. So 20. Part B says, what equations can you write to find the number of bamboo plants sold? How many bamboo plants were sold? So if we follow the key, 1, 2 full symbols, so that would be 2 times 4 in each group, and that equals 8. So, what do you think this half symbol represents? Well, if a full symbol represents 4, then a half symbol would represent half as many plants. So what is half of 4? That would be 2 plants. So then I would just do 8 plus 2 equals my 10 plants. So there are 10 bamboo plants. Part C says, how can you find how many more aloe plants than bamboo plants were sold? So we just compare the aloe and the bamboo. So if I were you, we could just cross off, bam, 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 cross off what they have in common. Or I would just do the math and just say, okay, 5 times 4 is 20, 2 times 4 is 8, 8 plus 2 is 10. So there are obviously more aloe plants by how many? What's the difference between 20 and 10? 20 minus 10 equals 10. So there are 10 more aloe plants than bamboo plants, and that's what we would write that. So to explain how you found that, you could just say I did the math and compared the numbers, or I went to the graph and just said, okay, cross those out what they have in common, and then just cross out half of the aloe one, and then say, okay, that's 4, 8, plus 2 is 10. 10 more, so that would be crossed out. All right, pretty simple, right? The check understanding says, try to do this on your own and then come back to the video. The check understanding says, use the picture graph above. So we're using the same plants picture graph. How many fewer cactus plants than lily plants were sold? So let's look at the cactus and the lily plants. So again, we could do the math and compare the numbers, or we could just cross out the symbols. So 1, 2, 1, 2. So then that's what I have left. A full symbol and a half symbol. So a full symbol is 4, half is 2, 4 plus 2 is 6. So 6 more lily plants. 6 more lily plants. How many more aloe plants than violet plants were sold? So again, let's go to the aloe and the violet. Again, you could do the numbers, do the math, or you could just cross out the symbols that they have in common. Cross that out, cross that out, cross that out, cross that out. There's one more aloe symbol. One symbol represents 4 plants, so there are 4 more aloe plants sold. Okay, feeling totally groovy. Last page. Use the graph for problems 3 through 7. Dean surveys his friends about the number of books they read in the summer. How many books did the 5 friends read? Okay, so our 5 friends are Cole, Patty, Katie, Andy, and Lamar. So if we look at our symbol, each square, that's a rectangle. Each rectangle represents 5 books. So I could say, here's my 5 friends. That's my total. That's my number in each group. So I'm going to go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55 books altogether. Then number 4 says, how many more books did Lamar read than Katie? So I'm going to look at Lamar and Katie. Again, I could do, oh, Katie read 5, 10 books. Lamar read 5, 10, 15 books, and compare the numbers. The difference between 10 and 15 is 5. Or I could cross out the common symbols and see, oh, Lamar has 1 symbol more, and the symbol represents 5 books. Either way, I get the answer that Lamar reads 5 more books than Katie. Number 5 says, how many friends read fewer than 10 books? So I'm looking for the friends who have less than 2 rectangles, right? Because 2 rectangles represent 10 books. Because 1 represents 5, 2 would be 10. So let's see, Cole has 3, that's 15. Patty has 2, that's 10. Katie has 2, that's 10. Andy has 1, that's only 5. Lamar has 3, so that's 15. So Andy is the only one who read fewer than 10 books. Number 6, how many fewer books did Andy read than Cole? So now we're comparing Andy and Cole. Again, I could do the math, 5, 10, 15, 5. Compare the numbers, what's the difference between 15 and 5? 10, or I could cross out the symbols that they have in common. They only have 1 symbol in common, so Cole has 2 more symbols. Each symbol represents 5, so 2 symbols would be 10 books. Either way, I get that Cole reads 10 more books than Andy. Number 7, it says, write a question that can be answered using the information from the graph. So just like up above, number 3, 4, 5, and 6, we're asking questions that regard the graph. So we're looking at it, okay, we have our 5 friends, we found out the total number of books, we found out the difference between Lamar and Katie, we found out how many friends read fewer than 10, we found out the difference between Andy and Cole, so maybe we could compare Lamar and Patty. How many more books did Lamar read than Patty? Or you could say, how many friends read 15 books? How many friends read 10 books? So just be creative. Yeah, and write down your question, and that's all. So I hope this went okay. I hope you're feeling okay. Didn't mean to scare you at the beginning of this video about doing more than 1 lesson a day, but I know you guys can handle it. I know that we are going to get through this, and I want you guys to be as prepared as possible for 4th grade. So that's why we're kind of just cruising through it. I wouldn't cruise through it if I didn't think you could handle it, if I didn't think it was going to be okay for your learning, but I feel confident with the way that Module 18 is structured. I feel confident that we can combine a couple lessons a day. And not every day, but just a few ones I am combining. So, okay. Let me know if you need anything. Good luck on your homework, and I'll talk to you later. Love your guts. Bye.